We use the word temperature all the time in our daily lives to describe how hot or how cold something is. When you wake up in the morning, it feels really cold. Maybe on the news it says it's 30 degrees outside. Or you're boiling some water on the stove and you want to make sure that water gets up to 100 degrees or 200 degrees. What is that temperature actually measuring? That temperature is actually measuring the kinetic energy of the substance. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's refresh our memories here. The word kinetic just means motion. So when you're measuring the temperature of a substance, you're just measuring how much that substance is moving, the energy that's associated with how that substance is moving. So if there is more motion, if the molecules in the object in the substance are moving more, that means they have more kinetic energy and their temperature is higher, or they're hotter. If something is not moving as much, they have lower kinetic energy, and therefore they have a lower temperature. So we use 3 different units to measure temperature. We use degrees Fahrenheit, which is probably what we're most familiar with, degrees Celsius, and Kelvin. In science, we don't use Fahrenheit. We only focus on these 2, degrees Celsius and Kelvin. And there's a simple equation that's used to allow us to convert between these 2 units for measuring temperature. And this is listed on the back of your periodic table. K equals degrees Celsius plus 273. So you don't have to memorize it because it's on your periodic table that you have at all times. But this is the equation you use to convert between these 2 units of measurement. So now let's apply that knowledge of temperature to some example problems, some conversions between units of temperature. So number 1 says, a thermometer reads negative 80 degrees Celsius. What is this temperature in Kelvin? Well, I have my given is degrees Celsius, my unknown is Kelvin. So I'm going to need the equation that relates Kelvin equals degrees Celsius plus 273. Since the given is negative 80 degrees Celsius, I'm going to plug that value in for the C. So if I rewrite this equation now, I'm going to have K equals negative 80 plus 273. So now all I have to do is add these together. Remember, a negative 80 plus 273 can be rewritten as 273 minus 80. So if I subtract these 2, I'm going to get 193 Kelvin as my final answer. Just to refresh, 193 Kelvin is the same temperature as negative 80 degrees Celsius. The numbers are different, but the units are also different. So we're measuring the same object, the same substance. We're just using 2 different units. Now what I want you to do is go ahead, try problems number 2 and 3. So pause the video right now to do these 2 problems by yourself. So just to go over these really quickly, for number 2, our given is 300 Kelvin. We want to convert this to Celsius. So K equals degrees Celsius plus 273. I plug the K in over here. So I have 300 equals degrees Celsius plus 273. I subtract 273 from both sides. So this comes out to 0. This comes out to 27 degrees Celsius. Degrees Celsius. So the correct answer for number 2 is 27. Now I know number 3 is a little difficult to see, but it says, which is hotter, 573 Kelvin or 200 degrees Celsius? Since these values are in different units, you can't compare the numbers to each other. The numbers have to be in the same units before you can compare their values. So we can either convert 573 Kelvin to Celsius and then compare it to 200, or we can convert 200 Celsius to Kelvin and compare that to 573. Either way is perfectly fine. I'm just going to go ahead and plug in 200 Celsius into the equation. K equals 200 plus 273. So that gives me 473 Kelvin. So which is hotter, 573 or 473 Kelvin? Well, 573 Kelvin. So if you explain that in one complete sentence, that would be the correct answer for number 3. If you feel comfortable with this, go ahead and move on to the exit ticket on your iPod or on your Chromebook to answer the practice questions and then do the actual exit ticket after those. Otherwise, ask your teacher for some help at this point in time.